You're listening to the Anxious Scholar Podcast, a podcast for anxious scholars. If you're a high school student who can't wait to go to university, but also is kind of overwhelmed with lots of unanswered questions like me, then you've definitely come to the right place. On this podcast, I sit down with EGM alumni while they share valuable advice from this exciting journey of theirs that we have yet to take. I really hope you'll enjoy this episode and learn lots of useful information about the college application process, unis, and higher education in general. Hello everyone and welcome to the podcast. My name is Victoria and I'm here today with my guest Anouk. Anouk graduated from EGM in 2022 and got accepted into Prépa Henri IV, so she'll be able to tell us all about her experience from her admission process to her time in Prépa. Thank you, Anouk, for coming. It's great to have you. Could you start by telling a little bit about yourself to us and your background?
So I came to EGM in CESIUM class without speaking English. I'm fully French, so it was a bit complicated in the beginning, but I graduated last year and I'm basically bilingual today, so
the beauty of our bilingual program system. Awesome. So you're in Prépa Henri IV. So there's 24 classes of préparatoires, which 12 are littéraire, 8 scientifique, and 4 économique. So what are you specializing in, and which one are you in of those prépa?
So the formal name of the prépa I'm in is Supérieure, which is basically a literary prépa, which is more commonly called an Hypokhagne. And basically what I study there is history, geography, literature, English, Spanish, and Latin. And so it's been great so far.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We'll talk more about your experience later in the interview. But to talk about the application process and your time in, you during the lycée when you were choosing where to study after high school, I was wondering, were you only considering to do prépa, or did you also maybe apply for bachelor programs or maybe in other countries also?
Well, I spent most of my terminal year without thinking I'd ever do a prépa. I didn't really like the idea of doing a prépa because I only saw the working part. I thought it was gonna be horrible and I was going to work a lot and maybe kill myself by working, but actually it's really great. And so in terminal I considered going to Sciences Po, but I didn't get in, and I applied in the UK, I think, and I got in the University of Edinburgh in philosophy and politics. So yeah, if you had told me in the beginning of the terminal year that I was going to go to a prépa and Henri IV,
what are the best? Yeah, the best.
I would not have believed you.
That's really interesting. We'll talk about your secret. How did you do that, and without even knowing that you wanted to, and just sur un coup de tête, or?
Well, I didn't want to do a prépa until I got the Parcoursup results. I put the prépa thing in Parcoursup because I thought it was still a good option and that I would learn a lot of things if I went there, but I didn't actually consider doing it, and I put Henri IV just to fill in a choice because I thought I'd never get in such a good prépa.
Mm-hmm.
And opening Parcoursup on June 2nd and discovering I got in without the liste d'attente, I was really, really surprised, and that has basically, I didn't know what to do because I got into basically the best class prépa in France, and I talked a lot with my teachers. My philosophy teacher has done a prépa at Henri IV, So I asked her about her experience, how it went. Friends of my parents also did, so I also asked them about it. And like the overall impression was that it was the best years of their life, that it was incredibly emulating, that they learned so much things, and they made the best friends of their life. So considering that, and the fact that I didn't get in other excellency programs like the Sciences Po Bachelor, I chose to go to Henri IV.
Well, that sounds like a great surprise. I mean, that's awesome. Good for you. You said that you also like applied to other countries like Edinburgh and other universities like Sciences Po. And I was wondering, did you ever go to like open doors days, and if that was helpful in like making your well, even though you didn't choose them, but understanding the atmosphere there, the teachers, the students, the kind of place.
Well, I actually did very few open doors day. I mean, I did the online open doors of Sciences Po, which was really interesting. I learned a lot about the program, and it really seemed great. But yeah, apart from this, I mean, the really useful open doors are the Prépa ones. But since I didn't consider doing a Prépa, I didn't go there. But this year actually I stayed at the lycée to talk to high school students about Henri IV, and actually doing the porte ouverte from a student point of view was actually very interesting, and I kind of regret not going to porte ouverte in terminale.
That's good advice, because sometimes people would say, oh, it's not really useful and it's not like worth the hassle, but sometimes it helps you understand what it is.
And you can meet the teachers and like actual students, so it's a really really interesting experience, and I think it's really useful. So
yeah, it's worth a try, especially if it's in Paris. You should go and you should see. So you said it's like when you were thinking about doing a prépa, like you immediately thought about like a lot of work, and it's like, and that is true about prépas. It's very intense, it's very challenging, but more than that, some people might not be familiar with like the French systems of Grande École and might not know necessarily what it is, a prépa. So how would you describe it to them, like in a nutshell, like in a few words?
Well, basically the point of a prépa is preparing the concours of, I mean, in my case it's the École Normale Supérieure, which is more commonly called ENS, and it's like a very prestigious school. Basically, if you get in there, you'll get incredible teachers, and I think you learn a lot of things, and since it's a very prestigious school, it can offer you like after your studies, it can offer you great work opportunities, and also if you get into l'ENS, you are basically paid, and you have kind of a home, and basically the state pays that for you, but in return you have to work, I think it's 5 years, you have to work 5 years as a teacher in the French educational system, but you can go not teach if you don't want to, once you get into the professional, once you get into working, most of the time the business you work in will just pay back the school, and you won't have to teach, and I think it's a really great thing to take into account, because doing l'ENS allows you to be financially independent, and which is quite important nowadays.
Yeah, of course, all students. But and I'm wondering, you said you want to go to an École Normale Supérieure, but can you choose after doing a prépa, you do the concours specifically for the school, or just all the schools that are that have this literary that are literary schools like Sciences Po or?
Well, basically the main point of a literary prépa is the ENS, but like the offer has diversified a lot these years. So for example, I could and I probably will apply to business school like HEC or LESSEC. And you basically, if you want to do that, you still do the same tests than for the ENS, and then HEC or LESSEC will look at what you did, and if they think it's satisfying enough, you'll have to pass other exams and then orals to maybe get in a very good business school like those. And what's great is that, I mean, I can get in a business school without having done math in 2 years, because as an Hypokhagne, well, I don't have math, and they have like this special thing for Hypokhagne to go into the school, because apparently, I mean, from what I've heard, they like our way of thinking, and because we've been taught differently than Prépa ECG, which is Prépa Commerce.
And you said like so there's like additional math classes if you want to go to like a business school.
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I think that once you get into the business school, I mean, you probably have like something like a intensive math maybe at the beginning of the year to catch up the 2 years without having done math.
But for the concours, it's not necessary.
But for the concours, there's no math if you come from Hypokhagne like me.
Oh, that's awesome. Then you really have a broader choice and more options, basically.
Yeah.
And just wondering, I mean, I think that makes sense. But for Sciences Po, if you want to do like you want to do Prépa and then go to Sciences Po's Grande École, you do the same one as you, the same literary Prépa as you.
I mean, to get into Sciences Po, it's a little bit different, because you can get into Sciences Po after 2 years of Prépa. Yeah. Because with the Réforme and Parcoursup and everything, they just don't accept you for a master if you haven't done 3 years. So once you are over with your 2 years of Prépa, you can either QB, which is basically do a 3rd year of Prépa, or you can go to fac for one additional year and validate a bachelor. And that's the specificity of Prépa, because when you get in, you sign up for what's called an équivalence, which is a kind of contract with the universities that are around to validate ECTS, which is the like European standard of bachellers in every system. Yeah. And after finishing your Prépa, you'll have an L2 level, so 2 years of bachelor. And what's great with a good prépas like Henri IV or Louis le Grand is that you can have équivalence with La Sorbonne, which is a quite good university.
And I was wondering, like, so you talked about how there's like languages like Spanish, Latin, there's literary subjects. Could you tell us a bit like what you're studying there, like more like concretely in Prépa? Because from what I understood, it's like a kind of like a continuation of high school where you study kind of the same subjects, but at a higher level and more difficult material. So could you give us, for example, like an example of the kind of work you do there?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an exact continuation of high school. I mean, it is in certain subjects. Like, for example, in French, we basically do the same thing, except it's way more focused on dissertation. But in history, for example, the method is quite different. I mean, it's still a dissertation, but it's way more precise, and you have to learn a lot more things, and you really go into depth, and it's really, I think it's richer than lycée than lycée history. And what's different also is that history and geography are not the same thing. They're two very distinct subjects, and the geography part is really different than the one in high school, because in high school we did more of like geopolitics and stuff like that. I mean, for example, last year we did like maritimization, the study of the ocean, and like geopolitical problems that come with it. And today, for example, I have studied the geography of poverty in the first semester, and so it's way more spatial. It's actually, well, pure geography that I'm studying, and that was kind of a surprise when I got in Prépa, because it's really different than high school. And then in English, it's basically the same. I was a bit scared about it, because I mean, studying English in EGM is really great. I mean, I loved it. It was really interesting, and I learned a lot. And I was worried that going back to the French system would like lower the level, and I was worried I would lose my English or study things that wouldn't be interesting. But actually, I'm still studying literature, and it's very interesting. I think like the main thing that's new to Prépa in language classes is its version, which is basically translating an English or Spanish text to French, and the opposite thing. So from French to English or Spanish is STEM, and that's a very new thing to me, but it's a really interesting exercise. And I think that for people like me that didn't originally speak English, it's quite an easy exercise, because I'm already used to translating English sentences and texts in my head to understand them. So it's a really interesting exercise.
In the program you talked about, like, sounds very diverse, and in all their subjects, like for example you said it's very specific in geography, but then there's also translation, and and there's also literature, obviously, dissert and French. I'm wondering, like, what kind of careers can you have after like doing such a prépa? I mean, I imagine it's broad, but still, because geography, not geopolitics, but geography specifically is kind of like you said, like it's I would think that it's only for people who want to do this as a job, but then it's like, well, for example, do you know what you would like to do after university, after Grande École?
To be honest, I really don't know what I want to do, and that's the great thing about Prépa, is that like basically you take the important choice of specializing in a subject. You take it 2 years later, and so to this day I don't really know what I want to do, but after Prépa you can basically do anything, and that's the great thing about it, is that you're not specialized yet, so you can still like think about it, and after like passing the concours, you can say, well, okay, I got into school, I'll do it, and then it'll run for, like in the case of l'ENS or for scientific people, after Polytechnique, you have like an immensely diverse work offer, because they are such great schools, and I think that's like the really great thing about Prépa is that you can do anything.
Yeah, it's an amazing like kind of a basis in education, like higher education, where you really, I mean, it's like you said, a system of excellency, and you really like you don't have to worry about like, oh, what do I want to do, because you know that you will have a lot of choices, and it really prepares you for a lot of things. So, and I was wondering, because you know, it's like you said, even for you it was a hard choice. You weren't even like maybe considering to do a prépa. So what would you say are like the pros and cons of doing one? Maybe like what are the challenges, what are some advantages from your experience now that you've been here, like you've been in a prépa for a bit over like less than a year?
Well, I mean, the cons would be that it's really demanding in terms of work, and for example, like the January-February time period was really challenging. It was very, very tiring, and it's really important to be psychologically ready to do a prépa, because I mean, I realized it one time or two, but your brain is basically totally focused on prépa. It's really complicated to like think about other things. I mean, I forget a lot of things because of the prépa, but then I think that the idea that you don't have a social life, you can do anything by doing a prépa is completely false. Like really, even like in the prépa I made amazing friends, and I've known them for 4 months, but they are already like one of the closest friends I've ever had there, and it's amazing to like be with people that think like you and that have the same hobbies, and you can still like go out and have a drink on Friday nights. It's not incompatible with prépa, and the pros of the prépa would be like meeting great people, spending time with them, having amazing teachers. I mean, it's the level of the teachers is just amazing. I mean, I feel like they know everything. And like, for example, my history teacher was Macron's history teacher.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. When I discovered that, I was like amazed. I couldn't believe that I have the same teacher as the president, as our president, and I think he was also the teacher of like a Prix Nobel d'économie. So it's like. It's like amazing, and all the teachers are great, and unlike what most people think, they're not here to be mean and to give you bad grades. They're really here to teach you and to just give you knowledge, and to help you understand and prepare the concours in the best way possible. And so that I think that the mean teacher part is like the biggest myth that's around the prépa, and it's completely false. I mean, in my case, none of my teachers are mean or want to like be bad to the students. And yes, in Henri IV the grades are quite low. I mean, I think they're like from, I'd say, 6 to 14 an average, but you get used to it quite quickly. And I mean, I've been told this, that like I won't get more than 10 all year, it's gonna be awful. Yes, okay, I accepted it, but you just like take your good grade image 5 points lower, and it's great.
Yeah, of course. Because and then they look in like I don't know. It's important to look into context, like for your class, because the level is so high. It's normal that the grades are like that. And the most important part is to learn and to be challenged.
Exactly.
And, that's kind of the whole point. And yeah, definitely like the myth of not being able to have a work-life balance is known. Like I've heard of it. So, and you said it's not true, but I know I was wondering more specifically for people who do like an instrument, who have been doing that in high school and college and in like middle school, or maybe like competition like sports. Is that possible to combine with prépa, or do you think that's kind of complicated?
I'd say that like playing an instrument in like professional level, like for example being in the conservatoire or doing like competition sports, I personally wouldn't recommend it because, as I said, prépa really asks a lot of your time, and the like playing an instrument is the same at a high level, is the same level of like demanding. So I don't think it's a great idea to combine two of those like really demanding. Although I have friends who do it, but like for example, one of a girl in my class is she's doing a violoncelle, and she misses a lot of classes, and because she has exams to get in the conservatoire and everything, and she's been convoquée to like the administration to talk about it because it's not guaranteed that she'll get into a second year because of that. So if music is or sports is a passion to you, I wouldn't recommend doing a prépa with it, because in the end you have to choose between the two.
Yeah, it's interesting to know. It's important to understand that, also being realistic and like what, because it is rigorous and challenging, but how much of your time it actually like takes away. So thank you for telling this. And I was wondering like so again, like you've already been in the school, like you said, you made a lot of friends, and from what I understand, like you really like the ambiance, like the mood there with the students, but it's still like a very competitive school and like a competitive prépa also. So it's not a problem, that students are kind of, there isn't like this competition between you guys, between each other. Like honestly, you're very supportive.
I don't feel the competitive atmosphere at all. I mean, everyone is like really supportive of others. I mean, basically the mood is, it's hard, it's tiring.
We're in this together.
Yeah, we're in this together. So why fight? Just like go through it together. And I've heard that it's less the case in Louis-le-Grand. I heard that it's more competitive there. I mean, I think a friend of a friend is in Prépa in Louis-le-Grand, and apparently he's in a PCSI, so which is basically physics, chemistry, and engineering, I think. And I think it's a lot harder on the psychological side, because people are not supportive of each other, and it's apparently quite the opposite. So it might be a little complicated there, but in my case, the mood is absolutely great.
That's awesome. And where would you say like students come from, like overall, like from your observation, do more people come from like private schools, public schools, or like from Henri IV itself? Because I can imagine like some people go to prépa of their lycée.
Well, I was really surprised when I got in, because I mean, I kind of expected, like I had the cliche that Henri IV was like a great lycée in Paris, and that there would be like basically rich people from Paris that would be in it. But actually, like the people there, they come from everywhere in France. I mean, I think I have like maybe 1 or 2 friends that are actually from Paris or Île-de-France. Most of them, they're from everywhere. For example, one of my best friends is from Angers. I have another one that's like somewhere lost in the Limousin. It's really very, very, very diverse, and the social background is also quite diverse. I didn't know there were so many scholarships. Actually, I think like maybe 5 of my friends have a scholarship, and from what I've seen, the overall impression is that it's incredibly diverse and that you meet people from everywhere. I mean, there's a girl in my class I think she's lived in England most of her life, so it's really great, very, very diverse, a bit like EJM, but more from around France than around the world.
And do you know if there's like a quota for applications in Henri IV? And like if some students have a bigger chance of getting in than others, or is it like completely like random? And I mean, not random, but in terms of like only looking at your like grades.
Well, I know that, I mean, obviously grades are a part of it, but it's not the essential part of it. I mean, I wasn't a straight A student. I mean, I think I had like 15.5 average in première, and then 16 and maybe 17 in terminale. But I wasn't the first of my class. But what really counts is like how you behave in class and what the teachers say in your bulletin. Because I mean, most of my teachers were quite fond of me, so I had like really great comments in the bulletin, and I think that really, really helped me to get into Henri IV, because like grade wise I was like the perfect student. I mean, most of my class, I mean, not most of them, but there were, maybe I was like 10th of my class, so in terminal maybe, but I really wasn't the best, but I still got in, so I was really surprised, and yeah, I don't know if they really attentively look at your motivation letter, because it's really short and it's just part of the Parcoursup procedure, but maybe that had something to do with me being accepted at Henri IV. I don't know.
What was it like? What did you have to write about? Just about yourself, and you can say whatever, or was there like a question?
Well, basically it's like a classic motivation letter, so basically, why do you want to go there? And it's actually really short, and it's quite hard to like
be concise.
Yeah, it's I think 1,500 characters maximum, so that's like not a lot, and you really have to go to the essential. You have to be precise and concise at the same time, and it's a quite challenging exercise, to be honest, but prepare it in advance is my advice, because I didn't, and I spent basically a week going to sleep at 1 a.m. Because I wasn't done with my Parcoursup letters, and yeah, I mean, basically what I said is that, I mean, I loved mythology, literature since I've been little, and that I think that because I don't want to specialize myself right away, Prépa is the best option for me. I mean, I said stuff like that, and I think that maybe like I had very good grades in Latin, so maybe that played a role too. I think having an ancient language in high school is maybe a good point to get into a literary prépa. But apart from that, I don't really know much of their admission process.
What did you consider like mostly? Do you know if there's like a minimum like grade requirement?
I don't know, but I'd say like 15 or 16 would be solid. I mean, it's basically a mention très bien, and
Yeah.
but again, it's still possible to get in without excellent grades
Yeah.
all throughout high school.
Did
mean-
you ever win like the AGM awards?
No, I mean, I didn't even consider it. I mean, to be
It
honest, I
depends on your
don't like.
class
I
size.
don't think there's much importance to the EGM
Yeah.
awards, because I don't think it's purely academical. I
Mhm.
think there's like, I mean, like everywhere, there's a bit of relations that come into place, and I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, it's great because like you actually achieve something, but I don't think Henri IV really cares about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that the concours général, which is basically quite a hard exam that you can sign up to. It's I think it's in every subject that you can sign up to. But being a laureate of that concours général can be quite good to get into a prépa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know this, so I didn't. I mean, I don't. I didn't. I mean, my philosophy teacher offered me to do the philosophy concours général, but I didn't think I was good enough, so I didn't do it. So it's like a 6-hour exam, so you really have to like
Want to
be
do it?
committed and
Yeah.
want to do it.
Is it like can you consider that like an Olympiad, like you know, like a
Yeah, not
academic?
really. I mean, it's. I think it's it's on a national scale,
Mhm.
but it's basically a test that high school students can take, and
Add them in the dossier, like added.
Yeah.
Mention.
yeah, saying that, like, for example, you're the laureate of the concours général d'histoire
Mm-hmm.
is a plus, very very good plus.
Is that how you call it? Just like concours général d'histoire?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. It's good. I didn't know that. So yeah, I knew that there. You know, I wanted to ask you like if you participated in any like competitions, Olympiads, and stuff like that. Did you mention?
Well, I mean, technically the only thing I did is like participating in a concours de nouvelles in like seconde and première, I think. I think I like almost won the première one, because I was like on 300 short stories. I was in the like 20 best, I think, or something like that.
Mm.
But I didn't win in the end. But I put it in my in like the in Parcoursup there's like a rubric where you like do small motivation letters about who you are, what you've done in extra scholar activities, what sports and stuff like that you do. And so basically there I said that I was doing theater, and that I had participated in this short stories contest. And I think that doing extracurricular activities like theater or writing can be good to get into a literary program, and I think that might have helped me as well to get in.
Okay, that is something that is still valued, you know, even though grades is important, but also after school activities, and you can mention that.
You know, grades are not the only thing to get into Prépa, and that's important to
know.
keep in mind.
Okay. And I was wondering, so you're doing a Prépa Littéraire. What specialité did you take? Because you were one of the first generations to like do the new bac. And it's kind of a very hot topic right now because we're all choosing them. Well, we've chosen them already. So it's interesting to know like what en fonction de what you want to study after, like what specialty you should choose and what is most like helpful for you.
Well, I had in première I had math, AGGSP and HLP, and I dropped math in terminale, but I still continued with maths complémentaire, and honestly don't stop doing math. It's great, and I mean, it's a good thing to have in your dossier if you want to do something else. It's still good to have done math up to terminale. And math complémentaire is not very challenging, so it's easy to have good grades. And I mean, I wasn't extremely good at math. I mean, I think I had like maybe I think I had 15.5 for the bac, and I had like 13, 14 all year long. And then in math complémentaire I just jumped to 19 average all year. So really do math, it's great. But yeah, I couldn't see myself dropping either HGSP or HLP because they were just so interesting and so passionate. And for HLP, what's great is that you get to start philosophy 1 year earlier than everybody. So I mean, it saves the first trimester of terminal having a headache because you don't understand anything to philosophy. And yes, the first trimester of première in HLP philo was quite hard for me because it's a completely new method of thinking, and yeah, it's a very different way of learning. But in the end, it's very, very interesting. I mean, it really changed the way I see the world today. And what's great about HLP is that you take philosophical or literary concepts and that you apply them onto actual problems in society. I mean, for example, last year what we did is that we studied transhumanism and posthumanism. So like basically, to make it simple, AI, robots, stuff like that, like human augmentation, and having a philosophical and literary point of view onto those issues were really, really interesting. And I would recommend HLP for that. And for HGSP, I think my favorite theme was Histoire et Mémoire, because you get to learn about, I mean, it's gonna sound a bit weird because you get to learn about, like, for example, the main genocides that happened during the 20th century. But it's not only like Shoah, it's much more. I mean, I discovered some genocides I'd never heard of. Like, for example, in I think 1904 to 1908 in a German colony, there were like two population of indigenous people that were slaughtered, and it's considered to be the first genocide in history. But weirdly enough, before actually taking HGSP, I had never heard of them, and I probably never would have if I had taken HGSP. So really, those two specialités, they taught me a lot, and I absolutely don't regret my choice. It was really, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you for like explaining what they are, because it's important, like, because we don't necessarily, we have an idea of what it is, but we don't it might not be that actually. So and for example, I personally want to take HLP next year, so I think from what my teacher told us, like, it sounds super interesting because there's a lot of, like you said, like practical aspects, like you really like put it into like a context, like it put it into perspective, like with like societal problems. And you also do a lot of sorties and like theater. And
with I had Madame Hubert in première and terminale in HLP literature, and we went to the theater like 5 times a year. It was great. We went to the Musée de l'Homme in terminale, and it was very interesting. And what's great also about HLP and HGSP is that you have several teachers, so several perspectives. I mean, for HLP, obviously, you have like a philosophy teacher and a literature teacher, and for HGSP, the teaching is actually bilingual, so you have one English teacher and one French teacher, and honestly they're great. I mean, I don't know if I can say their names or not. Like,
if it's something,
if
like
it's something good,
yeah,
I can.
of course,
Alright.
of course, that would be.
So in HGGSP, I had Monsieur Javelot, which is such an amazing teacher. I mean, he's so nice and he's funny and he's one of the most interesting person I've ever met. Like the way he speaks about history, really, like everything takes life when he talks about it, and his method is really great, and I think, I mean, we're quite lucky to be in EJM and have such great teachers. Really
Passionate teachers, it really changes everything.
Yeah.
That's
it does.
totally true. And how are you like evaluated in those spécialités? Because I mean, obviously there's like the contrôle continu and the bac, because you do have an épreuve for your spécialité, the ones that you keep. But during the year, it's just like it depends on the teachers, or.
Well, I mean, yeah, it depends on the teachers, but the most classic thing is that well, you have the compo, and then in terminale you have I don't know if there are spécialités bac blanc, I think, like in addition to the compo, I think. I mean, I can't really remember, to be honest, but basically, yeah, it's training with type bac tests, and yeah, so basically essays and commentaries, but in HLP we had sometimes we had really short quizzes about like what we had learned in the past week to ensure that we actually studied, and in HGSP we sometimes had like really small DST, or like just work from home. For example, we did we had a double page in the textbook, and we had to answer the questions or do a small essay about it, but it's quite classical evaluation. I mean, also there's a preparation for the Grand Oral since première in HGSP, so I mean in HLP too, but it's more of like longer presentations that you do, but in HGSP you have I mean, it's easier than the Grand Oral because you can speak up to 10 minutes in première, but yeah, you just the teacher gives you a subject, and you have I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks to prepare, and then you just present it for 10 minutes in front of the class, and ideally without any notes with you, so it's a really great exercise to prepare the Grand Oral.
And like you said, there's like the bac is kind of separated into like two years, so the French bac is like in première, and then your spécialité en terminale, and so that it's nicer because it's less stress on like one period. So there's different like épreuves, and I was wondering, like, what did you find most like challenging about like the bac?
Honestly, like, thanks to EGM, we are incredibly well prepared for the bac. I mean, I wasn't stressed at all when I mean, for me it was like the same feeling that doing another compo, yeah. So it was a bit weird, like, because I expected to be a bit stressed when I got in, but actually I was there, and I was like, okay, they're gonna give me a subject, I'm gonna do it, and that's it.
You know how to do it.
Yeah, I was I mean, I guess the terminal part was a bit more tiring because since we had OIB exams in addition, it was more challenging, and we had more stuff to do on a larger period of time, because like for someone that does the classic French baccalaureate, there's the spécialités that are in May, I mean, except if that has changed again. specialité in May, and then so like mid-May, and then in the middle of June you have philosophy, and then one under like there's 1 week of nothing, and then 2 or 3 weeks where you pass the cantoral, so it's quite extended in time. But then because of OIB, you basically go through everything without really having a good pause. I mean, since mid-May you have the specialités, then on the last week of May, you have the written exams for OIB, and then the first week of June you have the orals, and then the week afterwards you have philosophy, and the week afterwards you have the cantoral. So it's a bit more tiring, but honestly, compared to like what previous years, like previous promos I had to endure, so like 1 week of it's honestly the compos are more tiring than the back, to be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah, really.
That's good to know then. We're familiar with that, so.
So compos really, even though it's an annoying time period, it's really a great exercise for the back.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for passing the back, like on how to organize yourself, or how to be most efficient and like get the best possible grades that you can get?
Well, don't do like me and learn your lessons in advance, really, is the advice I would give, because I know I would have gotten better grades if I had been more serious while revising my back. But honestly, I was surprised to, like, for example, I was scared for the history oral in the OIB, because it's a really large program, and with complex subject that you don't necessarily learn before that. Like, for example, like the second half of the 20th century, apart from like main events of the Cold War, in like middle school and the beginning of high school, you don't learn anything. And then I studied a lot about the Middle East, for example, and I discovered a lot of things, and that was quite challenging to do. But in the end, I think I got like 18 or something, so it was really surprising. But what the advice I would give is that you should like take it in advance and répartir what you learn, like do a little something every day or every 2 days to in the end know a lot of things without having like the enormous program 2 weeks before the back, and being in front of your desk like, oh my god, I'm never gonna do it. What the advice I would give myself, indeed, it would be prepare in advance, but don't just go too hard on yourself, because I mean it's just the back. It's not that it's not that awful. I mean, we're quite well prepared in the GM, so take it easy. I mean, as long as you work like, I don't know, a month and a half or 2 months before that, you work a bit harder. But if you work continuously for the 2 years, so première and terminale, it'll be fine. Really. I mean.
Well, I mean that is a really good piece of advice, but I wanted to end this maybe on something else, maybe something broader, or again more specific to Henri IV, to your prépa, like an advice that you would give to the young listeners who also want to do a prépa in Henri IV like you.
Well, honestly, I'd just say go for it. I mean, I hesitated a lot to do a prépa, and I don't think I could be any happier today. I mean, I think it's one of the best choices I made in my life, because the great thing about prépa is that in addition of discovering a new working method and a more efficient method. You get to meet great people, great teachers, and I mean, in the case of Henri IV, the neighborhood is just beautiful, and Henri IV itself is absolutely amazing. I mean, imagine having class in a bâtiment historique. It's amazing. And yeah, I couldn't be happier today. And for people that want to do a prépa, yes, it will be challenging. Yes, you will have to work a lot, as you might not be able to do as many things as you did in high school, but it's great, and I don't think you'll regret it, except and if you do regret it, I mean, just endure the first year and then go towards something else. You'll have a first year that has been validated, so you can do basically anything. I mean, for example, I wasn't sure in the beginning of the year that I was going to go all the way until the concours. So I asked myself, what if I just do another UCAS dossier? Maybe that would be a good idea. I mean, I didn't do it in the end because I realized that I love prépa, but if you're worried that you're not going to love prépa, for example, and you hesitated with going abroad, just do another UCAS dossier and it'll be fine. I mean, really, prépa is not the horrible, awful thing that every high school student think it is. It's really an amazing environment, and you learn a lot of things during it.
Well, thank you very much, Anouk, for this piece of advice and for doing this interview with me. I hope our listeners will find it as interesting and helpful as I personally did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in on this episode of the Anxious Scholar podcast. See you in 2 weeks for the next interview, and don't miss out on any additional information on our Instagram @TheAnxiousScholar.